Okay, so like I mentioned before, this is going to be a presentation on OER search and OER remix. Alex and I will be your presenters today. So if you have any questions, you can always type some stuff in the chat, and whoever isn't talking will kind of just try to answer your question, but we will also have time for questions at the end. So, you know, no pressure to ask questions in the chat, but you're welcome to, obviously. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Oops, sorry, I just hit the wrong button. All right, so can everyone see this okay? You can all hear me okay? Great, okay, perfect. So this is going to be the part of the presentation today where we talk about finding open educational resources. Before I get started, I wanted to just do a quick overview of the licenses, and I'm sure you've all seen these before. So pretty much these are Creative Commons licenses, the picture to the right, and these are the majority of the open licenses that we use. We can also use things in the public domain, and we can also use content that we have permission to use. And I have a little note here just to make sure you keep a record of any permission that's granted to you. Like, for example, we were working on an early childhood education collection of textbooks, and we reached out to the Department of Education in California, and we wrote them this like nice letter asking if we could use, like, I think it was like 24 of their publications, and they wrote us a very nice letter back and said we had permission to use all of their content. And so we, kept a record of that, and then we just went ahead and, copied and pasted with permission from those publications. So that's kind of a way to get around sometimes using copyrighted material, but I also just make sure you have permission to use it. So excuse me. Sorry, one sec. I'm getting over a little bit of a cold. Half the people I know are like sick right now with a cold, so hopefully everyone is feeling okay. But so before I get to the OER search, I also just want to emphasize that there is a non-derivative license that I just want to be really cautious. We're always very cautious in using on our end of things. And I've put this like dotted line in red. And I know red isn't an accessible color, so I put a dotted line around it too, so that there were multiple ways for it to be accessible. But those types of licenses, the non-derivative, it's the ND with the equal sign. Those can be pretty tricky to use and to remix. So I honestly would just advise you to not use non-derivative resources if you can. And if you do choose to use them, I would advise you to keep them separate from the rest of your material if possible, because you have to. And also, if you do end up sharing this content with another instructor, that instructor might accidentally mix the non-derivative resources with things that it shouldn't be mixed with. And we've seen that on our campus, and it can kind of cause like a headache down the line. So I would just say, really try to avoid using non-derivative, and really just stick to, honestly, like CC BY is kind of the gold standard. That's what we use. I put it at the bottom of the screen just to kind of show you another way that sometimes it appears in resources. But yeah, so I just really want to encourage you to be cautious with the non-derivative. But other than that, Creative Commons, public domain, content you have permission to use, those are all very acceptable resources. So looks like we have some folks joining us. That's great. So again, I just wanted to highlight the open license that we use on our campus for all of our books. We use CC BY 4.0. And there is a wonderful website called Creative Commons. It's in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. This website also details all of the licenses. It also has resources, information. And at the end of this PowerPoint, I have a link back to Creative Commons. But I just wanted to, kind of just really emphasize this is kind of the easiest resource to use and what we really encourage people to use. But sometimes you don't have options, so we'll go over some other licenses that you can use. So for this OER search, I wanted to highlight some of the top repositories that we use, and then kind of encourage you to maybe use those. And we also have a list on our website that has a bunch of other repositories. There are so many, so you really have a lot of options. But I just wanted to not overwhelm you with too many ways to do OER search, but here's kind of like a quick, some 5 easy ways to find some resources quickly. So one of the top repositories is Merlot. So if you go to their website, you have this smart search option. For this presentation, I decided to do English resources because that's what my background is. I studied English, so I just wanted to, show you what some real sources would look like. So here, it's kind of like Google. You just put what you're searching for in the search bar, click search. You'll have some things pop up. So for the purpose of this presentation, I decided to go with this English composition book. There will be a link here where you can go to the actual material itself. And I wanted to highlight that if you see it like the bottom left-hand corner, it shows you the kind of license it has. So anytime I'm doing an OER search, I always want to be really aware of the license of the material that I'm looking at. And a lot of that has to do with, I want to make sure there's not a sneaky non-derivative in there. And I also just want to be sure it really is an openly licensed material. Because every now and then, things can kind of pop up that might not be openly licensed, even if they're in a repository. And that's kind of just like an accident, but it's just better to be safe rather than sorry. So I've just indicated with this arrow, this is a CC BY license. So this would be a great resource to use. There's also LibreText, and I'm sure you've heard about them. They're a really great resource. They also have a really cool remixing tool. So in LibreText, go to their homepage. They have this explore the libraries option. So if you click on that, it takes you to bookshelves. So I've circled where you would click. Then you have some more options. I feel like LibreText really breaks things down in a really discipline specific way, which can be really helpful because sometimes you get, you'll look for like a biology textbook and you'll kind of get resources that are maybe, I don't know if biology is a good example, but sometimes things aren't quite as discipline specific as you would hope they would be. But I feel like LibreText actually does a really, really good job of having, a variety of disciplines there. So for the purposes of this presentation, I was looking at the composition resource. So if you click on that, you have some more, kind of like potential course options. So you can click on one of these, like introductory composition in the left-hand bottom corner. And then you have more options that are specific to that type of course. So I went ahead and decided to go with this book about writing. And then in this book, there's different chapters. And you can see at the top, the author, what school they're from. Maybe some of you know this person, I don't know. But so you have a lot of choices here, and it's really broken down in a very specific way. So LibreText is great for that reason. So I went ahead and clicked on, chapter 6. You have some modules in there. And I also want to just really quickly show you the remixer tool from LibreText. So when you get to that home page and you click on, I think it was explore the libraries, You also have the option to use a remixer tool. You will need a username and password, but it's like free. So it's really easy to get one. So you would click on the remixer tool, and then it shows you textbooks that you've saved, and you can copy and paste from the left-hand side into the right-hand side. So you can actually like remix your own textbook. And so this can be really helpful. You do, however, need to kind of use LibreText. So if you want to use LibreText, this is a great choice. If you want to use a different format, you might not want to use the remixer tool for LibreText. But again, if you want an account with them to access the remixer tool, you would just email info@libretext.org. They're super great. They get back to you pretty quickly. So, but I just want to do a quick little shout out because I thought the remixer tool was pretty cool. So our third resource, BC Campus. So again, if you just go to their homepage, they have a collection. So I've circled it up here at the top of the screen. So if you click browse our collection, it'll give you kind of like that search engine, kind of like Google search. So you just type in whatever you're looking for. I typed in composition, and then you would click search, which I've circled on the right-hand side. And then you have different textbooks that populate. So I have decided to go with this Writing for Success edition, and it's Canadian, so that's kind of cool, international representation there. So if you click on that resource, again, I want to highlight the license here. You always want to check that before you get too invested in a resource, because it can be pretty heartbreaking when you maybe find out something is not quite as compatible to use as you wanted it to be. So before you get attached, I really encourage you, please look at the license. So this one is CC BY NC-SA. So that's non-commercial, share alike. And it also details it, this link right here, this Creative Commons link. So if you have questions on what that means, you can just click there, and Creative Commons has a really good explanation of what that license is. But for the purposes of this presentation, I just wanted to kind of show you what it would look like if you found a resource you liked, and then you wanted to, get a version of that you could edit. So I've circled, different formats that you can get this textbook in. So you can click on one of those. And oops, sorry, I went too far ahead. And it will just, and when you click on each one, there's like 4 different readable formats. There's 7 different editable versions, and then 1 like hard copy option. You have to buy that one, which I don't think we would do that one, but so you have a variety of formats you could use. And then OER Commons, our 4th resource. So again, we have this similar search engine feature. This one has a little more, has some more options here. So I put in grammar, English language, and then you can also pick the level. So I picked community college. And then again, you click search once you have all the options selected in the way that you want them. And then again, you have different textbooks that populate. And so I've chosen this Grammar Essentials, and I also have highlighted this CC BY license. And the CC BY is kind of like the gold standard that we use on our campus. Like that is the best one to use, in my opinion, the easiest one to use. You just need to give credit to the author and provide a link back to where you got the resource. But of course, you can use other Creative Commons licenses. We just really like this one. It's really easy to use. So just wanted to highlight that we have verified, this resource's license. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this resource. Again, it has another CC BY license here. So you can kind of verify that again if you're just really excited about, the Creative Commons licenses. And then we have this option up here to view the resource. So if you can go ahead and click on that, and that will show you the resource. So I think the last one is Google search that I have. And this is kind of my preference to use. And I think it's also Alex's, but I just find that Google search, Google obviously is investing a lot of money into their search engine. They're definitely like they're kind of on a different level sometimes with just how easy it is to search through them. So I actually tend to go to Google search first. However, you can also find new things on the repository. So I don't want to say, don't ever use repositories, just use Google search. Google search can be kind of the easiest place to start, especially if you already use Google and you're, confident using it. But also the repositories still, can really kind of help, especially if you're looking for a very specific discipline and it might be kind of represented in other disciplines. That might be kind of an easier way to use the repository. But I'm going to show you how to use Google search just in case that's your preference. So Google search has this feature called advanced search. So to get there, all you do is just like open up your browser. I just like typed in Google search to pull up Google search. I don't even think you have to type anything up, but you want to go to this right-hand side though, where you see this little, what is that, like a cog? I think that's what that's called. So if you click on that, you get some settings, some quick settings, and you want to click on advanced search. So you just click on that, and then it populates this screen. And this is kind of like just Google search, but with a little more options. So you want to type here where I've circled what you're looking for. I put ESL, English as a second language. And then at the bottom of the screen, it lets you filter by license, which is great. So if you click on, this bottom filter option, it'll show you, free to use or share. You can use it even commercially, free to use, share, or modify. It gives you these different options that correlate pretty well with the Creative Commons licenses. I use free to use or share because that just usually gives me the options that I need, but you're welcome to, use any of these. You'll just get less resources the more specific you get, I guess. So, but maybe that works for you. So that could still work. So you click on whatever one you want to use, whichever filter, and then it'll populate. So if you look at the bottom of the screen, now it shows, free to use or share. Then you click advanced search, which I've circled, this little blue button. And then that will give you all of the openly licensed resources that, fall under ESL and also have the license that you've requested. I do also want to emphasize Google search isn't perfect. So you do want to make sure you're still verifying the license. So if you click on this resource, you still want to verify this is CC by non-commercial. For our purposes at our college, we're not selling anything. I don't really think, any of us working in higher ed for this grant are really selling our products. So we are good using the non-commercial, but you just want to make sure you're verifying. So I like this resource. I verified the license. I'm going to go ahead and access it. And then this one has like a little note here. Sometimes people will, have a license, but then also add a little note to it. So I just wanted to highlight this person actually added a little extra, but this essentially is exactly what the CC by NC license is. So I feel like maybe they were just re-explaining it for people who maybe don't have a lot of exposure to open licensing. So we're still good to use it. We're not selling anything, so we are okay. I'm going to go ahead and click on the book here. It's just on the left-hand side. And then that gives us some Word files, which is great for our team because we work in Word. So I'm going to go ahead and download that book. So click there. And then it shows us, the table of contents. You could scroll through, see the rest of the content. And again, we have another license here at the bottom of page 1. And I just want to reemphasize checking that license, making sure that, it's agreeing with the license that was listed on the website and it's agreeing with the license that is listed on the book. So just verifying that again, everything still matches. There is no non-derivative, so we don't have to worry about mixing it up with anything else. We are okay to combine this resource with other resources. And then on this next slide, I just wanted to do a quick little, just to kind of show you what organizing your OER materials could look like. And this is kind of like just like a quick and easy way that works for us. And this is if you have an outline. So, say you have chapter 4, understanding rhetoric and argument, you're doing, some sort of English course, and you have broken it down into like some subcategories. So for us, just list some bullets. You can list the resource. Maybe there's specific page numbers you want to use. This first bullet, it's Oregon Rights, page 23 through 35. I've listed the link here. And then I've just replicated that. So this was just like kind of a quick idea if you're, concerned about maybe like forgetting, you found this cool resource, you want to make sure you can remember it later. But maybe you don't want like a really complicated chart. Maybe you do, that's totally fine. But, here's another option that we use with instructors on our campus. This is actually from an instructor. So this has been actually used. So that's kind of cool. I think Alex formatted this book, but I don't remember. So I just wanted to open it up really quickly for any quick questions before Alex kind of starts talking about remixing. But before I do answer any questions, I did want to highlight, so we have a ZTC page from our own campus. It has a bunch of repositories. It has some helpful advice. It has videos on how to do different things. And so I've linked that here. I can also put this in the chat if that will be helpful. So that's a resource for anyone to use. And then I also, like I mentioned at the very beginning, Creative Commons is also a really great place if you are kind of looking for some resources or, just some news in the OER world. They also have a really interesting, they keep everyone kind of like updated on what's going on in the OER world. So I've linked that there. They also have a lot about the licenses as well. So if you kind of need to like brush up on the various licenses, that's an option as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I think stop sharing so that I can see faces. But did anyone want to ask any questions now? There'll be time at the end too. So.
Question from Kelly. Can you say more about giving credit to the source?
Definitely. So for the books that we format, for us, that typically just means, so we like to use footnotes. So we'll use a resource, we'll put a footnote in, and then we'll say in that footnote, the title of the book or the website or, whatever the resource is titled, we'll link to that resource. And then we'll also say by, whoever it's by is licensed under, and then put the license as well. But you can be, you can kind of give credit in different ways. It really just means you need to link back to the original source and you need to name the author. So link and author name, those are kind of like the big ways to give credit. Yeah, cool. Okay, so great. Looks like that answered your question, Kelly. Does anyone have any anything else before I hand it over to Alex? Okay, cool.
All right.
Great.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll take over going over remixing OER books. Let me just share my screen real quick. Get my PowerPoint. Okay, so one of the nice things about OER books is not only can you just adopt them for free, you can mix them together, rewrite them, pull different chapters from different books and come up with something completely customizable for whatever you might need. So, I mean, the typical steps of the process here, like we just talked about, first we're gonna, find the materials that are relevant to you. We'll pick and choose exactly what you need and then make it available for your students. So yeah, one of the great things about OER sorry, I'm just repeating myself. I got ahead of myself with the slides. But yeah, what the nice thing is you can pull, if you're writing a sociology book, for example, we've got plenty of sociology books. If you wanted to come up with something new, you could pull different chapters from different books, edit them all together into the same Word document, and then license it as something completely new, or license it the way it was before, especially if you're borrowing material from something that had like a share alike license on it, you'll have to make sure that whatever you remix continues to use that same license. So what would be some reasons why you would adapt or remix an OER? There's plenty of reasons. Maybe you've found a textbook that is good for the class that you're teaching, but you notice it's not exactly up to your standards, or there would be changes you would like to make to it. That might mean adding more images or replacing some of the photos that are already in there. That might mean now that there's a big push to make sure that all of these e-textbooks and websites are accessible to people with visual impairments and stuff like that. If you find older OER texts before this was really a big concern, it's quite possible that you'll find a textbook that has some issues. If you run an accessibility tool or a checker in Microsoft Word or Adobe PDF, it might flag some things that let you know that the color contrast is off, which could make it difficult for somebody who's colorblind to see. It might be missing alternative text, so the images don't have a description. It might also just be that there's tables and some spreadsheets and stuff in there where the read order might not be clear. So somebody with a screen reading program, it could kind of jumble that up. So it's really good to, when you're looking and remixing older OER texts, to double check and make sure that they are accessible. You might want to simply just add new chapters because new content, new information in the field is available. And there's plenty of reasons why you might want to remix and adapt. So before you really get your hands into remixing and adapting or modifying a book, a couple things you want to think of, because the more you want to change, the more time it's going to take. And the nitty-gritty formatting of a textbook can be pretty tedious and time consuming. So it's just something to consider ahead of time. So you want to consider how much content you want to change. Are you rewriting content yourself? Are you just adding a chapter? Are you mixing and matching two books completely? The format of the original textbook makes a big difference. If it's only available as a PDF, that will be a bit of a roadblock because a PDF is difficult to edit, and copying stuff from a PDF into a Word document usually causes some formatting, scrambling, and stuff like that. So if you're going to remix a textbook and you're able to get access to a Microsoft Word document of the book, that would be the easiest way to edit it. So you also, again, want to double check the license. Just because it's Creative Commons doesn't necessarily mean that it's able to be remixed. If, like Alexa was saying earlier, if you find a license that is non-derivative, there's really nothing you can do to touch it. You can use it and share it, but if it's non-derivative, you can't edit it. So just something to keep in mind there. Another thing to consider is just how comfortable and familiar you are with the tools that Microsoft Word has or the tools that Adobe PDF has, especially if you're trying to make sure that it's accessible in the end. Sometimes making sure a document is accessible in a PDF document can give you some errors that will probably require a Google search to figure out what to do to fix it. Sometimes it requires you to go into these weird menus where everything is staggered like a scaffold. It starts to look very technical, and it can be a bit of a roadblock. So just something to keep in mind. I'm not trying to discourage anybody. I'm just trying to say that sometimes unexpected technical things will happen. So also remember that students prefer flexibility with the textbook. So that might mean that keeping it as a Word document or just convert. I guess I should say some students, they might not. It might be best to split up the book into individual chapters for the students and provide it to them 1 week at a time. There's, it's up to you whether or not you want them to have the whole text or piecemeal. The other thing to consider is just how complicated, but I guess just how involved you want to be with graphics or images. I mean, some textbooks are pretty straightforward and simple, and they're mainly just content, and graphics and images are more, they kind of come later. In general, I think the idea is to keep it simple and focus on the quality of the content of the textbook, and then adding stuff like visual aids and other multimedia content can usually come later. Let's see. So if you are going to modify a textbook and kind of customize it to meet the needs of your individual class, there are some steps to follow. First thing, again, like we've gone over before, just double check the license, make sure that it's Creative Commons or public domain, and make sure that it's not non-derivative. As long as it's not derivative, or as long as it's not non-derivative, you can make changes as you wish. So the format of the textbook, like I mentioned a second ago, makes a big difference. If you're able to get a Microsoft Word document, that's going to be the easiest way for you to change things. Typically, we really only work with Microsoft Word when we're editing textbooks ourselves. It tends to be just the simplest file format that we can use and share amongst ourselves, and then just convert to PDFs later. So Microsoft Word is not the only way to do it. Obviously, there's the whole Google suite of Google Docs and all that stuff as well. If that's your preference, there's really no reason not to. It's just, I guess we use Microsoft Word for the accessibility checker, the consistency. Pressbooks, like Alexa was going over, has the remixing tool. So that's always an option as well. And then it can cause some problems with the formatting when you copy and paste between Word documents and Canvas, but you also can just post the content in a Canvas module if you want to make a book available that way, or just you can always just link to the files themselves from a Canvas module. If you are when you're choosing a license, so yeah, once you've finished editing the textbook and it is exactly the way you want it, you'll need to license it yourself. In general, we just use the most open license, the CC BY 4.0. But if stuff like if things like making sure that the book is not ever sold or profited off of is important to you, then you could, of course, use a non-commercial license just to make sure that nobody else who adapts it could sell it for any reason. That's a way to kind of get ahead of that. Let's see. And yeah, and also the material that you're borrowing from when you're remixing a textbook, you have to pay attention to those licenses too, because if it's a share-alike license, whatever material you borrowed, you then have to license your material the same way it was when you borrowed it. That's the share-alike license. So if you had like a non-commercial share-alike license and you borrowed material from that, your book will have to be non-commercial share-alike as well. And then the last thing, not the last thing, sorry, the second to last thing to consider would be how you want to make the book available to your students. So I guess it depends on, whether or not you want to just provide that as a link for your students, if you want to embed it in your Canvas modules. If you're just borrowing a book that's already out there on LibreText or something, you can always just give them a link that way. yeah, like here, some students may prefer a printed version of the textbook. Usually, if that's the case, they'll have to pay the page fee just to have the bookstore printed out for them. Otherwise, I mean, that's the only way an OER book would really have any cost. It's just the cost of the paper to print it on. Let's see, and then yeah, usually when it comes to getting the book for your student, once you're done editing it, it's as simple as, you know, linking it to Canvas, providing a link in the syllabus somewhere on the homepage. There's lots of different ways you can do it. Really, it just comes down to getting your students a link to get to it, wherever it may be. So that's basically all there is to it for remixing and adapting. And then yeah, are any questions we can answer on that? Stop share.
Thanks, Alex.
Yeah.
And just to highlight a message that Una just put in the chat. Again, if you have any questions that come up while you're, you know, working, maybe you're still kind of new right now and so you don't have questions yet, but if something does come up, feel free to reach out to us. Our email, Una listed it, it is oer@canyons.edu. So, you know, if you're working on, you know, finding some resources, maybe you need help finding resources, maybe you have a question about, you know, like my friend made this book, am I allowed to use portions of it? You know, just weird questions can come up. So just feel free to reach out to us. We're, you know, super happy to help. And Una is also in the chat, just letting us know that there's a survey that you can take. Oh yeah, Alex put his email in the chat. Maybe I will put mine in the chat. But I'll give you like a few minutes to just think if you have any questions while I'm typing that in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Jennifer.
Hi, I work at an institution where we teach many students that are incarcerated. And because of that, we need to actually have a physical copy of the textbook. And that's where I'm running into a problem. There's a textbook that I wanted to use for religion and magic. And it's through I think it's Printing Press, and they only have it available online. And I don't know how to, without actually putting the document together myself into a PDF, which I can do. But the problem is we also have to have it through our campus's bookstore. So I'm not sure how to make it so that it's available through our campus bookstore in a PDF document so that we can provide a actual physical copy of the textbook to students.
So that is one of the reasons we format in Word, is so that we can easily convert it to a PDF for our own bookstore, because there are some disciplines where they do, it's kind of a workbook format, and they prefer to have like a physical copy. So that's kind of a tricky thing, because is there a way that maybe, because we've sometimes contemplated, especially for English courses, like maybe purchasing, you know, a certain set of like novels or something that can just like be reissued every semester, but that are returned every semester. So like, I don't know who pays for this, but the campus essentially buys copies to be reused so that they can provide a physical copy. But so it's still technically like a freely given material. It just needs to be returned, which, you know, can get a little tricky maybe. But is that something that you could maybe see like your library doing, like purchasing like 40 copies of that book if you're able to get a printable version of it?
I don't foresee them having the resources to do that, especially because a lot of times they're not returned. They've done things like
Yeah.
that in the past and they were not returned. And they don't have problems printing documents or helping disassemble them to send to incarcerated students. The concern really is that we have to have a physical copy in the bookstore, like a
Mhm.
virtual books. It's a virtual bookstore, but we have to have it in the bookstore so students can have access to it, whether their families purchase it for them or whether they purchase it themselves. They still have to have an orderable copy. And at this time, it's not available for ordering. I've looked it up. I've looked for Amazon, and there is no PDF of the textbook. So
Is it only readable on that website?
yes.
Okay.
And that's where and that's where I'm coming into a problem, because the only other textbooks available are $80+ for students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not to, be too much of a put too much of a plug in, but that's where the OER team can really help you, because we routinely copy things from websites that are not in like a printable format. So maybe send us the book that you're referencing, and we can take a look at it and see if that's something that we could maybe recreate as a Word file and then send to you, and send to you as like a PDF and a Word file, so that you could more easily distribute that to your students. But that's something that the OER team is happy to do. That's what we do for instructors on our campus, because our bookstore also wants a physical copy. So that's so if you're interested in receiving that kind of assistance, then you can always send us an email, and we can maybe make like a formatting plan to know kind of what your deadlines are, how much time we'll need depending on how long the book is, things like that. But yeah, we'd be happy to help format for you, because that is kind of it's great to have all the resources online, but there are those situations where you really do just need a physical copy. And so that can sometimes be a bit limiting if a resource is only available, as a digital textbook. So yeah, so feel free to reach out, and we can, take a look at that, if you're interested.
And I've even started formatting. The only thing is I'm not sure how to contact them to make it accessible to a PDF format on their website. Do I have to contact them directly at I think it's Printing Press? That's the OER.
That was going to be my next suggestion, actually, and we might be able to help with that as well. But yeah, I think maybe just contacting them directly to explain exactly what the situation is and why you need it and how you need it, and maybe they would be willing to. Maybe they have another file format that simply isn't on the website, and that they have it from just when they were editing it. Maybe they can make that available to you. I'm not sure, but I think it's worth a shot.
Okay,
Yes,
yeah, because
that's
I
a
mean,
great
I've
idea.
actually started assembling a Word document with a lot of the material.
Yeah.
And I just don't know how to make it so that it's palpable, that everyone will have access to it, and that it can go to a bookstore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
know
thank you.
OpenStax does that. Like if you email OpenStax, they will actually just send you like Word files of the book if you request it. You just have to kind of prove that you're an instructor. But so yeah, so maybe they have something like that, and that would definitely be the easiest route to go. So maybe start there, and then if that's not available, then you could reach out to us. We could look at some more, not like nuclear options, but it would be a little more, a little more work, but that's definitely what we can definitely help with that process, so that you're not just like copying and pasting for like 40 hours or anything like that. Because that's like what I mean, we do that all the time. So we're
that's basically what I'm doing with it right now, is just
Yeah.
copying and pasting it. It's because
Yeah.
I don't know how else to go around it. And then I was really interested in contacting them to see if it was a way we could put it on their website. And like I said, I want to make it so other people can use it, and also that it is a good textbook where you can add other materials from other sources. So I think it would be a good one that would be accessible in a Word document rather than PDF, so that people can edit it the way they want.
Yes. The only reason we sometimes do a PDF instead of a Word file is just that the PDF will save the formatting exactly. But if you have the Word file, you can always edit that. But you can just when you go to like save as, that option with the Word file, you can just save as a PDF, and then that's sometimes the version we prefer to share with the bookstore, because you can kind of ensure that no matter what version of Word they have, the PDF is going to look the same. But Word sometimes will display a little differently between different versions.
Right.
So I think that for printing purposes, PDFs are actually the best option. However, for every other purpose, I would stick with Word, because Word is like, you could edit it. Editing a PDF is not really, we just kind of don't do it. It's so horrible. So just keep that Word file, because yeah, it's you can edit the
I appreciate that.
And Maria is pointing out you can edit a PDF. Yes, it's just sometimes we've just had, you know, some issues. Like it will sometimes put like a, I don't know, it will just kind of do weird things. Word is just a lot quicker for us too.
Yeah,
but we also start in Word, so it's a little easier if you start in Word to go forward. But if you only have a PDF, then I mean, obviously you kind of have to edit the PDF, or you have to copy everything into a Word file, which not everyone, you know, can.
And then it gets
time to do
scrambled
that.
and it turns into 40 hours of copy pasting and then correcting the weird pastes and how they get mixed up. So yeah, it can be a little funky. Yeah.
Yeah, but please also don't feel like you need to be copying and pasting for 40 hours. That is definitely something the OER team can help you with. So really, like, we encourage you, like, this is literally our job. So we really encourage you to reach out if you do have this great resource. It's going to take some time to kind of convert it to a Word file or something. You know, please reach out to us. If you're using a different thing, like you're using LibreText or using Pressbooks, you know, that's going to be a little more of an independent project for you. But Word is like, and Canvas, actually, we work in Canvas too. But so just another plug, like, please do not be spending like 100 hours in your Word file copying and pasting. Like, let us know, we will do it for you.
I thank
and we
you.
will
I
give you
appreciate that.
yeah.
Yeah, happy to help.
I have a quick question
Perfect.
because I found the book, but the thing is, it's in a PDF, it's online, but if I want to put it, it says non-derivative. So is it okay to split it up and put it in the canvas? I'm not going to change, but it just need to be like chapter wise, put it as a small bite-sized canvas pages so students can it not overwhelm, like, you know.
Yeah.
So is there something that you can help us with that, like
to cut up the PDF into chapters?
Yeah, like
even if it's non-derivative, we're good, right? Yeah, I figure we're not changing anything, we're just
like, because it's on a PDF, but the problem is the accessibility. I cannot put the PDF in the canvas because it won't be able to be readable by screen readers. So I'm trying to see how I can take the content, put it in the canvas page so that it's accessible.
Yeah.
So so the first part of your question with the non-derivative, I think it's fine to use, you know, to split up the PDF, put it in Canvas. However, with the accessibility, that is because there, depending on what the accessibility checker is flagging, like if it's just flagging like a title and headings and like color contrast, those are some things you don't actually need to really edit the PDF to do. Like, you can edit, like, we could take a look at it too. There's some things.
I teach calculus, so there is a lot of symbols and a lot of equations and stuff. So it's not just the headings and the color contrast. It's just beyond that, the symbols and how it was. That makes it harder.
Yeah, that we had something like that happen to us, and we actually converted it to a Word file. And when we converted it back to a PDF, for some reason, the PDF was not accessible with those symbols, but the Word file was. So sometimes there's a little bit of a weird like disconnect between the different accessibilities of like a Word file, Canvas, and a PDF. So you could always do like a test, maybe just to like copy that equation, like just like one page into a Word file, and maybe see if the Word version is passing the accessibility check. And if it is, then that is maybe something where you want to try to reach out to the author, see if they have a Word file you could use, or you could, if that's not, you know, available, you could reach out to us and we could try to maybe like come up with something. Depending on the length of it, we might be able to like rewrite the equations in a way that is accessible in Word or Canvas, because I know Canvas actually uses
Yeah,
I think
math
they use the
editor.
best. Yeah.
And the thing
Um,
is, the book is like 200 pages or something, and every page has a lot of equations. So I'm like, what am I doing? Okay, maybe I'll reach out to the author to see if they have any Word file that I could use. That would be a lot easier to make it accessible. So if
Yeah, because
not,
it's a non-derivative source, so I guess all you have to do is explain, I'm not trying to change it, I'm just trying to make this available.
yeah. So sounds good. This is for my next semester class, so probably I will work on it during the winter. So I'll reach out to you in case if I run into any issues. Thank you so much.
Yeah, definitely. And
Happy
just
to
keep in mind, so we are happy to help, but we do have other projects we're working on. So sometimes we need just like a little bit of a heads up, especially like we typically say like each 100 pages, give us about like a month before you need the book. So if you need the book like January 5th and you have 200 pages, that is kind of coming up to like a November 5th kind of
Yeah,
deadline.
no, I need
just so,
only in Feb. So probably by December, I will
okay, cool.
figure something out and then I'll reach out to you.
Yeah, definitely. We just want to make sure that we don't make you late with anything you're needing to
No.
distribute.
Thank you so much for the help.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's so good that you guys are all finding these resources and you're even identifying like, oh, this one isn't accessible and like this license, like that's more like advanced OER. So I think you guys should kind of like pat yourselves on the back too for also, you know, you're at like the more advanced level and you're finding issues with OER resources, which is like cool. That's like kind of what we do. Like they're great resources, but you do have to kind of modify them to fit your needs. And obviously like accessibility changes, just like the way software makes things accessible changes as well. So like I noticed that Word had kind of an overhaul with its accessibility checker about like 2 years ago. I think the Word accessibility checker was pretty unusable. And then it actually is like amazing now. So there's like weird changes that are always happening. So some of the resources that were maybe made like 3-4 years ago, you know, they're just sometimes not quite as like updated software readability wise. So, but it's good to, you know, like, again, like reach out to us. We will help you in any way we can. And sorry, Charlotte, did you have a question before I spend too much time on?
I did join a little bit late, so I'm not sure if you talked about this already, but my question is, if you really like an OER and it's not accessible, is there any way to make it accessible?
Definitely.
If it's a non-derivative licensed source, you're free to edit it as you wish. So yeah, if you find formatting issues with a book you want to use, it's perfectly possible to get in there and reformat it so that it's usable.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you refresh my memory? Non-derivative.
Oh yeah. So different kinds of Creative Commons licenses allow for different things, and there's one type of Creative Commons license where if it says non-derivative, you're allowed to still distribute it for free, but you can't make any changes to it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So other licenses like CC BY or like share alike or non-commercial, they'll still allow you to mix and match and rewrite and edit and do whatever you want with it. It's just about whether or not you can sell it. But the non-derivative stuff can't make any changes.
Unless it's like changing the form, like PDF to a Word file or making it accessible. Yeah. So like, there's like little changes like that, but the content needs to be the same. And but just like a small caveat too.
Any other questions we can answer?
We just have a couple minutes left. So, and I know that you probably need to get going soon, Alex. I know you have another meeting.
I have to jump into another meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So feel free whenever.
Okay. I have to run, but thank you all for coming. And yeah, best of luck.
Thanks, Alex. Great presentation.
Take care. You too. Take care.
So if there aren't any other questions, I might just end the meeting a couple minutes early, unless there's anything that anyone wants to add. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for attending. If you just didn't get enough and you want to have the same presentation all over again, we are also doing it next Friday. So, you know, you're welcome to join that one again. I know that this material can be riveting sometimes, so feel free to join that one as well. And this is recorded, so I think Una or Liz Yada will be sending it out. So yeah, but good luck on all of your projects, and feel free to reach out to us if you need any assistance, if you have any questions. It's what we do all the time, so it's what we're here for. Happy to help. But yeah, I hope everyone has a great day.